Retro Hangover, supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We'd especially like to thank patrons Lyle, McKarns, Ashton, Ruby, Randall, Quiggle, Tony G, Studstill Smash, the Milkman, Katie, Quigg, Paul, Romalho, Raging Demon, JC, Meagan, Caruso, MaskedKeaton, Andrew Liguori, Ozzy Garcia, the Retro Vixen, Adam from The Good, the Bad, the Backlog, Thunderdome Gaming Society, Dischimera, Jenny E, Rick Firestone, ParallaxPuddles, Soha, Keith, Gasper, Dave Jackson, Eric Gess, Kayla Jackson, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands podcast, Ashevent, Alan Bingham, and StormBeagle. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated. Welcome to The Flight, a consumable curation of champions and catastrophes that is considerate of your chronometer. Welcome back to another edition of Retro Hangovers Flight. It's me, Chris, and I am joined, as always, by your host, Shane Dick Dragon Koski. I did the rolling R the first time that time, unlike last time where I did it the first time, but you didn't. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. And we are here to deliver you another fantastic top 5. Shane, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. We're good. Looking forward to providing people with methods for ending friendships and relationships.
That's right. Prior to this episode, me and Shane were about to completely cancel Retro Hangover because we were talking about playing these games. Fortunately, we did not play them together yet. So the show persists for now. So you're welcome, Internet. And who do we have to thank for this episode of chaos? Well, it is none other than Nomad from the Retro Wildlands podcast. This is the first time someone's topic has been brought up twice since we started naming it. So, hey, congrats on getting a second one there, Nomad, and go check out the Retro Wildlands podcast. Thank you for being a patron.
That's right. And, well, I suppose we probably should just get right into this thing, huh?
I guess we should.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're minimizing the waffle this time around and just going right into how to cut people out of your life most effectively. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with your number 5 relationship ending game?
Number 5.
Okay, so first of all, dear listener, I want you to understand you probably should take everything I say here with a grain of salt because I am still married. So, which means this has been tried, tested, and has not worked. However, it might for you. So I will start out with my number 5. I don't think my wife will listen to this. If you are, my number 5 is Contra for the Nintendo Entertainment System. And you might be asking yourself, Chris, why Contra? Contra's a fine game, and I would agree with you. I love Contra. Contra's a fantastic game. And it's that one level where you're vertically going up, where you've, like you're climbing the rock wall. And all you got to do is just slightly go off the screen, and you will die. And your partner can do this, and your partner can hold you back. And this is something that happens continuously in Contra. In fact, this could go for a lot of run and gun co-op games, where if you're trying to move forward and your partner sucks at the game, it makes the experience infuriating. So this is more something where you, as the person in charge of the game, because I know everyone who's listening to this episode is a fantastic gamer, and your significant other usually is probably not as good as games as you, and if they're better than you, well, flip the script. But like, you're going to be wondering what the hell they're doing. Hey, get over here, keep moving. What are you doing? Don't get that item. Why are you dying? Why did you revive and take my life away? Can you stop doing that? I'm trying to beat the game now. I'm in the mood. What are you doing? Go away. I don't want to talk to you anymore. That's Contra when you play it co-op, because if your partner sucks, it's a bad time, and a lot of people suck at Contra. Except you. You listening to this episode, you're fantastic at Contra. I guarantee it. I am not, but you are.
Okay, well, I am going to start my list, I think maybe in a slightly different way than perhaps was the original intention of this topic suggestion. I think if I'm reading it right, and for the record, the rest of my list kind of falls into this line pretty well, but if I'm reading it right, I think this was meant to be like games that you play together that you just end up hating each other by the end of it, kind of a deal.
Hmm.
My number 5 is not so much that, but it is something that absolutely will be a relationship ender. So I'm probably
Oh,
starting this on like a really like serious dark note. So you're welcome, everyone. But my number 5 is literally any MMO. That's that's what I'm going with. Because it's true. Because it's true. Unless you are playing a massively multiplayer online role-playing game or MMORPG with the person in your life, and that way you two can effectively know life together in pure gamer filth bliss. MMOs have a tendency to kind of take over people's lives, and as a result, if you had a significant other, you may not have one by the time you get done with that. And I will say that the younger version of the Dick Dragon may have had some experiences similar to this, in that I was very much a World of Warcraft player, and in my younger years, I may have put more importance on raid night over maybe like being a good boyfriend. So like older Dick Dragon me recognizes that. And that's actually part of the reason I don't really play MMOs much anymore, apart from just the fact that I quite literally do not have the time to sink into something like that these days. But that's why it's on my list. And I put it at number 5 because I think the rest of my list kind of, like I said, falls a little bit more in line with the spirit of this topic, but I felt like that one was too relevant to not include. So yeah, just be cognizant of how much time you're spending on that very immersive MMO, because they can very easily take over your whole damn life.
that is a fact. Also, the reason I do not play MMOs. It's maybe I should go back to playing MMOs.
Number 4.
My number 4 is Bomberman. And this is the multiplayer aspect. Well, duh. Because this game is one of the most backstabby, fun party games that you can get your hands on, because the entire point is to blow up the other person and get really chaotic. And you do have to stab, your friends in the back a little bit, because you do want to win. There are no allies in Bomberman. It's all about victory. It's cutthroat. It's, there can only be one. It's Highlander. And you're blowing each other up, and you're more concerned about not blowing yourself up. Bomberman is fantastic. However, if you play with your significant other, you are going to have to murder them. And if they're not cool with that, it's a prime opportunity for Fightville City. So there you go. Bomberman, multiplayer. You really just have to sit down and play this game if you're not familiar with it. I don't know anyone who's not familiar with Bomberman, but in the unfortunate case that you are, just go look it up. It's delightful. It's cute. It will make you hate anyone that you're playing with. Words will not be spoken for hours afterwards. So if you want some peace, hey, here's the game for you. With your friends, the shit talking is well there, but I'm going to assume that your significant other is going to want the team up aspect, to go against your buddies and your pals as you're teaming up together against them, laying bombs all over the place. No, that's not probably going to happen. You're probably going to try and kill them first, because your bros are your bros in Bomberman until you have to kill them. But you know what? Your significant other is probably the most susceptible, just because, again, you are a video gamer and you are very good at video games, dear listener, and your significant other is probably not as good as you are. So, yeah, that's probably going to happen, and they're going to tell you they don't want to play with you anymore, that this game isn't fun, and they can't beat it. There you go. So Bomberman is my number 4.
All right. Well, my number 4 is near and dear to my nostalgic heart, but I also fully recognize that it has the capacity to, let's say, breed animosity amongst folks, and that is GoldenEye 007 for the N64. So specifically, of course, this should probably go without saying, but the multiplayer deathmatch mode. And it really comes down to, I guess, who you're playing with and whether or not you set down any house rules. Anyone who played a lot of GoldenEye deathmatch back in the day probably settled into some version of house rules that included no odd job is probably the biggest one, because that height advantage or a lack of height advantage just makes that character too good. And frankly, if you picked odd job when you were playing GoldenEye multiplayer, then you're a bitch and you deserve all the hate that you got. Also maybe slappers only, but that's just because it's hilarious. But yeah, so the competition that goes on in GoldenEye multiplayer definitely breeds a lot of let's say hostility. And it's also partially because of the way that the game is structured. You're all playing on the same television and it's all split screen. So screen cheating or screen peeking is a very real thing that, if you're not lying to yourself, almost everybody did at one point or another. And
of course we did.
People will be very quick to point that out. So though GoldenEye Deathmatch was a hell of a lot of fun, it absolutely caused a lot of shouting matches between friends.
Number 3.
All right, my number 3 is Altered Beast. You might be wondering, that's a weird pick. Why would you pick that, Chris? Why would you pick Altered Beast? Because it is co-op. And it's a big game in the retro gaming scene because it was attached to the Sega Genesis. And you might be thinking to yourself, Chris, I mean, Altered Beast isn't that great, but it's still a playable game. Why would you make this a breakup game? Because, nerd, you're subjecting your significant other to a terrible game. Yes, it's bad. Okay, get over it. It is a bad game. That's not very long, and it's very difficult, and it sucks. So, if you're wanting to break up with your significant other, you have them play Altered Beast with you. In fact, if you really want to seal the deal, you really want to mail that envelope home, so what you do is you get super hyped and you promise your significant other and be like, hey, look, I am a gamer. I love video games. You know this, baby. You know this, sweetie. You know this, my bae. I have a game that we can play together and have a great time. And I have this old system called the Sega Master System, and we're going to play Altered Beast on it. And as soon as they play any of that game with you, actually, I don't even know if you can do co-op on that. But besides the point, because, well, memory limitations, that port is fucking garbage. But I will tell you this, if you're looking to break up with your significant other, you sit down, you tell them that it's a great, fantastic game that you two can play together for hours. And look, she's probably a keeper, or he is a keeper if they sit there and play with you for a while, because if they are willing to put up with your bullshit, or they might be psychotic. They might be psychotic, because no one should be willing to play Altered Beast with anybody, especially in this day and age. There are much better options. So if you really want to break up with your significant other, and this game can do it, that is Altered Beast. Try it on the Master System. Might not have co-op because, again, I don't know why I would even bring that up, but at least for the Sega Genesis, because it will disappoint them worse than you disappoint them in the bedroom. Back to you, Shay.
All right. My number 3 is entirely not surprising, but I mean, I had to include it at some point. And so that is the entire Mario Kart series. I don't know if I would pick one in particular, because I've played multiple of them, and I think they all eventually have the same outcome. So I'm just going to say the whole series. But if you've played Mario Kart with your friends at any point, then you already know why this is even here in the first place. Everything's going along just fine. And let's just say you're in first place. You're feeling pretty good. You're razzing your buds about how good you're doing. And then out of nowhere, some bullshit ass blue shell comes flying in and wrecks your whole day. Or someone just gets a real good sniper shot with a green shell and it just sends you off the edge, like literally and figuratively. And yeah, there's plenty of proverbial backstabbing that occurs in a Super Mario Kart race that definitely can put tensions on even the best relationship or best friendship, especially if they are just relentless with those items. So yeah, I think Mario Kart absolutely deserves to be on this list.
Number 2.
My number 2 is Jackbox.
Mm.
And the reason why is because if you want to know where your significant other's deepest, darkest sense of humor is, this is the game for that. This is all about a game of, being witty, having quick wits. So what you want to do, if assuming you want to break up with your significant other, or you're looking for a game that will test the metal of your relationship, is you find your darkest, quirkiest, weirdest, most perverted friends, and you play Jackbox, and you play at their level to the best that you can, because you're going to find out the limits of what your significant other is willing to put up with, or what you're willing to put up with, for that matter. You don't know what they think either, but you're going to find out, because winning is everything, and you're going to get those scores. Not to mention, sometimes it requires, screwing them over. And that's the magic about Jackbox. It's so versatile. There's so many ways to have a good time with it, but maybe you don't want your significant other seeing everything you're saying on there. It can get dark. It can get weird. And that's what's great about it. But it might also not be so great. And this is, of course, if you're starting out dating. I'm sure if you have a great relationship, Jackbox might not be that game for you because you're teaming up, and that's wonderful, and I wish the best. But see, the thing is that you gotta find those friends that are super weird, and you gotta expose them to that, especially if that's your angle. And I know I have a few, and they are amazing. So yeah, Jackbox is my number 2, especially when I'm screaming into the microphone like a psycho. I love doing that. It's one of those games. I'm sure that the Secret Levels podcast, and by the way, you better have those nights again, guys. That was fantastic. But they know what I'm talking about. But yeah, number 2 is Jackbox.
Well, my number 2 is maybe oddly specific. I don't know, but it comes from personal experience. And that is Yoshi's Woolly World in co-op mode.
That's odd. Okay.
Yep. Dude, fuck this game in co-op. Holy shit. Okay. So, on occasion, my wife and I will try to play a game co-op together. And we try to pick things that, we're both are going to enjoy, and is something that, we both reasonably can play. So not picking co-op Cuphead or anything, because that's not going to fly. But we saw Yoshi's Woolly World and we're like, all right, this seems pretty fluffy, pretty easy. I think we can probably co-op this and have a good time with minimal frustration. And you kind of can, for the most part, but most of the issues that Yoshi's kind of suffer from is really the roots start with New Super Mario Brothers. That's where these issues actually stem from. So the new Super Mario Brothers series introduced a number of things along with the up to 4-player co-op. Most notably the fact that you have full ass collision between player characters, and also the ability to hit them with items and pick their asses up and throw them whenever you want to. And that gets translated to Yoshi's Woolly World as well. And as you might imagine, that is just ripe for some of the most supremely frustrating bullshit you will ever come across in what is supposed to be a cooperative experience. And so not only will you end up accidentally picking up the other player that you're playing with and hurling them to their death. But the game in many places is actually just functionally more difficult when you're trying to play with someone. And that actually does apply to the new Super Mario Brothers games too, but we didn't play those. So we're talking about Yoshi. But like a lot of the maybe more difficult platforming sections or the auto-scrolling levels or things like that become exponentially more difficult when you have a second person there to try to contend with, especially if that person is not, a air quotes gamer and they're not, super awesome at precision platforming and that sort of thing. It can get really frustrating because you will just lose a level and have to start over, even though you did just fine, but the other person just simply cannot platform to save their fucking life. And so what ends up happening is you just tell them to die. You're just like, listen, just fucking die. And then they'll float around in a bubble at the top of the screen, and then you'll just play solo, and you can get through those difficult parts on your own and then pop them out of the bubble back into existence and continue on. Sometimes you will accidentally pop that bubble while you're jumping, and then that's fun because they'll just die again anyway. So yeah, it's a baffling design decision because something that's supposed to be fun to play with someone else is like objectively worse when you're playing with someone else. And don't even get me started on the challenge levels in Woolly World, because trying to co-op those was an absolute nightmare, to the point where my wife just gave up and she was just like, you know what, if you really want to finish these challenge levels, do it yourself and I'll just watch, because this is just not fun. And she's right. It was not fun at all. So yeah, kind of a super specific pick, but there's a lot of reasons why co-oping Yoshi's Woolly World is actually kind of a bad time.
If I ever hear my wife or a significant other tell me, if you want to finish, just do it yourself and I watch, I think I'd be very sad.
Yeah.
Number 1.
All right. On to my number 1. It's Mario Party for the Nintendo 64. And, everything's there. Bullshit RNG, being able to steal, your stars from other players. No real rhyme or reason as to why you win or lose a challenge, really. When there's a skill differential and you're better than your significant other, it's not going to be very fun for them. Not to mention that you're probably going to absolutely rub your palms raw, and not in the good way, by playing with your N64 joystick. So when you're done with this and both of you are mad at each other, and of course that means no sexy time, you can't even please yourself because your palm will be bleeding. So there's nothing good here when it comes to relationship building. Just backstabbing, again, your hand hurts, so there's not really going to be any stabbing because you can't grab anything because there's a hole in your fist, in your hand. And yeah, Mario Party is the one game I think I have heard the most about, the one I've experienced the most, that if people want to get angry at each other and never talk to each other outside of Risk, which is more of a board game, and I didn't include it for that reason, then you have to play Mario Party. If you want to be on 48 hours or, how to become a murderer or something like that, start out, establish a baseline by playing Mario Party. After you're done with that, I'm sure that your significant other will start making plans to find a secure location to put your body. And that's really the end of it. Mario Party it is, my number 1.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Not entirely surprising. Mine is in a very similar vein, actually, but what if, just stay with me on this one. What if you were to take Mario Party, but also include RPG and leveling and job elements?
Oh.
And very purposeful backstabbing.
Oh.
And also the ability for whichever player is in last place to choose to become the embodiment of darkness with the sole purpose of literally fucking up everyone else's game. Well, if you ever thought about that, I mean, first of all, seek professional help, but you may also be thinking of Dokapon Kingdom, because that is my number one relationship destroying game. Holy shit, this game. All right. So I had never played this before, and my wife introduced me to it because she had it for the Wii. This was originally a PS2 game, and then it got ported to the Wii, and she had the Wii version. And when we were talking about games to play together, she was like, oh, I have this game called Dokapon Kingdom. I really like it. Like, let's play. I was like, all right, cool. You know, I've never heard of this, and it seems like a Mario Party style game, so it seems pretty light. Okay, cool. Let's do that. No, I had no idea what I was getting into. This is like Mario Party, like on steroids, I swear. And it's so infuriating because, like, you, in addition to the board game style layout that it has, part of the whole thing here is you are trying to save the kingdom from a monster invasion, but at the same time, you are competing with the other players who are other adventurers to basically be the better adventurer and like complete quests given to you by the king of Dokapon Kingdom before they can, and then return to the castle on the game board and turn in the quest. And then you get credit for it. You get a bunch of XP and rewards and things like that to help you level up and become a better character. And so it's competitive while also, you know, trying to progress this like story of finishing these quests to repel the evil that is trying to invade Dokapon Kingdom. And so there's a lot of that where there's a lot of frustration where if you take the thing of like, oh, I was trying to get to this star on the board in Mario Party, but so-and-so got to it before me, and isn't that annoying? Take that and then crank that up to 11 because you go through all this bullshit to finish these very specific quest steps that the king has given you of like, go to this area and find this item or fight this thing. And you do that, and then you have to get back to the castle to turn it in, which you're kind of beholden to the RNG of, you know, rolling dice to move on a board. And there are some items and things that can help you mitigate that somewhat, but having someone else get back to the kingdom and turn in a quest, which has taken you, and I'm not exaggerating on this, some of these take an hour or more of playtime to actually complete. So you like do all this bullshit, and then to have another player go and turn it in, and everything you just did basically gets washed away and is negated, and you did it essentially for nothing, and now you're weaker than that other player because they just got all the benefits for finishing the quest. Fucking sucks. It sucks so much. And then I will say that if you are last place, it feels real good when you get the random encounter thing of you hear the darkness whisper in your ear, because you then have the choice to become a darkling, and all of your character job things and all that stuff change to having abilities that are geared towards specifically fucking with all the other players. And you have that for a limited amount of time, but it's enough time to cause some serious damage. And if you're good enough with it, you can set other players back immensely. And if you're the Darkling, that feels real good. If you're not the Darkling, that shit sucks real hard. And so, yeah, dude, Dokapon Kingdom it's like the Dark Souls of Mario Party games. Like, that thing does not fuck around. And they package it in this really cutesy aesthetic that totally throws you off because you do not expect this game to be as absolutely cutthroat as it is, but it 100% is.
I want to play this, and I'm looking up the value of the game, and the PlayStation 2 has actually gone down in value quite a bit. It was a very expensive game for a minute.
Well, they also actually just re-released a remaster on the Switch, so you can get it there too.
Oh, that is the actual game? Because I see it's called Dokapon Kingdom Connect.
Yeah.
And it's the same game?
Yeah, it's the same game.
Ooh, I need this. Oh, it just came out. I need this.
I mean, it's fun. Like it takes that Mario Party formula and adds, like I said, a lot of that like RPG elements and like job system type stuff to it. So it's pretty cool. Like it's a decent game, but just be prepared that you absolutely will be purposefully stabbing your friends in the back, and they will probably hate you.
I've been prepared for years, Shane. I guess this is the time to close this one out, huh?
I guess so. There you go. So you have in total 10 different ways if you just really want to quiet quit a relationship. This is probably a good way to do it. So there you go. Don't say we never gave you nothing.
We try to do our best unless we're doing our worst.
Why not both? But at any rate, you know what? We hope you enjoyed this list. We had a good time putting them together and chatting about them for you. And if you would like to choose these topics that we talk about on these here flights, you can do that by becoming a patron of the show. And so if that is something that is interesting to you, you can head over to our link tree at linktr.ee/retro hangover, linktree/retro hangover, and click that there Patreon button, which will bring you right to where you need to be. And then you can select the donation tier of your choice. And for as little as $1 per month, you get access to a whole bunch of really great bonus content, as well as supporting the show and keeping us doing what we're doing. But if you just want to jump into the Discord, I mean, that's open, that's public, and anybody can do that. We welcome all. So you don't have to be a patron to get into the Discord. You can just join in today if you have not already, and get in on the many conversations that we have over the years. Our Discord channels have grown quite a bit, and so there's a whole swath of things to talk about, mostly gaming related, but you know, we've branched out. So if you want to talk about the meat space sports, we've got that for you. You know, you want to post pictures of your cute pets, we got a channel for that too. So yeah, jump in and join the conversation. It's a good time. And while you're there over at the link tree, you can also check out our socials, where we post photos of Chris's collection mostly, because I don't really have anything cool. Well, I do occasionally, but you know, he's got most of the neat stuff. Or you know, our YouTube channel, where we post the video versions of these episodes, as well as the VODs from Twitch, which we do on a certain night of the week. Chris, when can people find us at the Twitch television?
So yeah, if you head over to twitch.tv/retro hangover, you can find us playing video games as you would. And we are typically playing games like, I don't know, spooky games for Shane or infuriating games for me. Games that might cause me to break up with my significant other if they would play with me. But if you want to know when you would find that, it would be on Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we're usually playing then, unless it's like a major holiday or something. So if you're like, you know what, I'm not tired yet, I want to hang out with some cool people, you know, just head over to, you know, a lot of other Twitch channels, but also check us out at twitch.tv/retro hangover. And we will be there for you along with our amazing community. And they are super cool with super awesome conversations that I know you will enjoy. So see you there, twitch.tv/retro hangover.
There you go. All right. Well, I guess with all of that being said, until next time,
play with your fuck you Darkling joysticks.